Tell you what, Lydia, she is one of the best, is she not? Okay, let's check it out. All right, welcome into Rob Schmitt Tonight. I'm Bob Brooks. Rob, obviously, he's got the night off. It is now day 20 of Operation Epic Fury. President Trump in the Oval Office today giving us an update.
We are substantially ahead of schedule, and I had to do this. I call it an excursion. I had to take this little excursion and do something that no other president had the courage to do. And everybody wanted to do it, but they never had the courage to do. And I don't blame them. I'm not blaming them. It was left to me, and we've done a great job.
The president with the cold, hard truth right there. So many presidents, politicians came before him and said this all needed to happen, yet no one would do it because they didn't want to be the bad guy in the media or be demonized by the other side of the political aisle. You knew they would jump on that. And then you look at the bashing that he's getting in the media right now. I mean, it is headline after headline in almost every outlet. The president, he calls those people working at those outlets sick and demented, and I don't disagree with him at all. They are. If you're rooting for the failure or twist narratives that there is failure in this Operation Epic Fury, you are sick and demented. Now, here's what we're learning today. Congresswoman Maria Salazar down in Florida posted this on X a couple hours ago. This is so gross. A 19-year-old national wrestling champion executed in Iran, not for a crime, but for speaking out. That is how that regime, those people respond to free speech there. We'll kill you for it, publicly. That's what we're fighting against. And whether anyone wants to admit this or not, the Iranian regime has been at war with the people of the United States and our way of life for decades, since the start of it. Here's the Secretary of War on that.
So they have been at war with us, whether we acknowledge it or not, for 47 years. The same goes in Afghanistan. Name the Islamist enemy, whether they are Sunni or Shia, because this is a Shia regime, Sunni or Shia, and Iran's been willing to harbor them as long as that group is willing to try to kill Americans. So the enemy of their enemy has been their friend as well in the Islamist world.
So what's new today, right? A lot to keep track of. Looks like European nations and Japan finally have come to the realization the right thing to do is help out in the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. That includes Britain, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Japan. Japan, they get the majority of their oil, like 90% out of the strait. You'd think they'd really want to help with this. In a joint statement writing this, we condemn in the strongest terms recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels in the Gulf, attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations. The countries who do not help, which we provide so many resources to, I think they just look weak or compromised. Could be that as well. Now, there are some ships going through the strait. Recent reporting states maybe 90 shipments of oil that has gone through. And I kind of have been wondering who's going to get that money after they sell it. Where does it go? Back to the regime? Maybe. I don't know. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he commented on that.
We are seeing the defections at all levels as they're starting to sense what's going on with the regime. It doesn't get reported here in the U.S. very well, but we are trouncing them from the air, and the regime will probably collapse within itself. At Treasury, we've seen where they've wired their money out of the country. We're coming for that. We're going to get it back to the Iranian people.
It's good to know they're keeping an eye on it. Also got an update on the amount of damage that we have inflicted on the Iranian Navy.
Each day, we continue to attack deeper into Iranian territory. The U.S. military dropped 5,000-pound penetrator weapons into underground storage facilities. We continue to hunt and kill afloat assets, including more than 120 vessels and 44 mine layers, and the pressure will continue. We're flying further to the east now and penetrating deeper into Iranian airspace to hunt and kill one-way attack garrisons, destroying Iran's ability to project power outside of its borders.
On day 20, also learned that Israel struck the world's largest gas field that Iran shares with Qatar. And that prompted this response from our president, President Trump. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was ever going to happen. Okay, there was also some reporting circulating that Marines are being sent to the Strait of Hormuz to secure it. We have the president on that as well.
Do you intend to potentially put U.S. troops or more troops in the region?
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you, but I'm not putting troops.
A lot to keep track of, like I said. And according to the Pentagon, at this point, we have hit over 7,000 targets inside of Iran, and more is coming. It is going to. And for me and my coverage, I like to revert back to the president's initial address as Operation Epic Fury was being launched. You know, we're quick to forget what Iran has done to the United States over the years, over many years, over decades. And if you have forgotten, here's a reminder of that.
Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Kohls. Many died.
It's got to be payback for that. And how about all the servicemen and women Iran was responsible for killing while we were in Iraq? And now under President Trump's leadership, the opportunity has presented itself to dish up, like I said, major payback, long overdue. You know, we're all wondering when this might end, how it's going to end. Well, the president said Iran and the regime would be degraded to the point that people of Iran would be able to take over when we are done.
We are finished. Take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance, what's happening right now, and I think we take his word for it. Like I said, 20 days only. The president said initially this would take 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks. And really, when you think about it, this is a favor to the world and future generations. Imagine a world you got to worry about this. I don't think there has been one nation in the Western world or their leader who is against this regime being taken out. Now, scared, maybe scared of the repercussions politically, but let's be realistic. No one wanted a nuked up Iran armed with thousands of ballistic missiles. Nobody did. And I think we need to put the politics aside and be realistic about that. And President Trump knows that as well.
Iran is a serious threat to the world, to the Middle East and to the world. And everybody agrees with me. I think virtually every country agrees with me on that. So I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, you know, if I do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse. We've obliterated their Navy. We've obliterated their just about everything there is to obliterate, including leadership. Their leaders are gone. They picked new leaders, they're gone. They picked new leaders, they're gone. And now they're looking for new leaders again.
Let's talk about it. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor, joining us now. Pleasure to see you both. Victoria.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, going to start with you, Victoria. The Strait of Hormuz, let's get into that. We know a big focal point following the Israeli strikes on the South Pars gas field. That was the big one here we're talking about tonight. There's now the fear maybe this is going to raise energy prices already more than we have seen. The Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, he posted this on X. The United States is the world top oil and natural gas producer. We're also the largest natural gas exporter and a top oil exporter. To be clear, the Trump administration has no plan to implement restrictions on oil and gas exports. Explain to us, Victoria, why the Strait of Hormuz being closed and all the energy assets in that region that have been hit thus far, how it impacts us here at home.
Well, Bob, great to see you again. And I think one really important thing about the president's Truth Social post on the Pars natural gas field is this narrative that he was somehow led into the war by the Israelis and they are dictating the course of this war. That's simply not true. We're acting jointly. That is true. And we are being incredibly effective in our combination. That is also true. But clearly the president is acting independently in the interests of the United States. And he saw that attack and he said, hey, that's not helpful. We do need the Qataris to keep producing that natural gas. Maybe our objectives are a little different here, so let's course correct. So this narrative of his being unduly influenced by a foreign government is simply untrue, and that proves it. Now, in terms of the energy issues, we do produce more than anybody else here at home, but of course we are tied to global energy markets and we are part of that ecosystem. And so those high prices prices do affect us here at home. So I do think, this is something the president and the administration are very mindful of. They want to make sure those prices start to come back down by the time we get to Memorial Day and summer driving season. So I think that's why they're accelerating the tempo right now to get this operation efficiently wrapped up.
Colonel, a couple NATO nations, Japan, they're jumping in here to help with the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Talk about what that's going to look like, what they actually might do in the assistance here.
The key is freedom of navigation and countering the perception that the Iranians can do much to harm shipping. Wartime insurance pricing is now in place, Bob. That was something the Trump administration didn't prepare for, and they should have, but that's in place. And so you have shippers willing to make the run. As a matter of fact, while we're not back to 130 ships, there's a few going through per day. But the Japanese example was key to the challenge we're faced with. Our allies, South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, Vietnam, all depend greatly on the energy coming out of the Gulf, and we have to support that. It's a shame that our NATO alliance ain't there to help us doing more than what they could do and should do, especially the British. The British, I think, depend on 80% of their liquid petroleum gas to come from Qatar. So I cannot believe they haven't shown up vigorously to help out. With that said, Bob, I'm looking down at the price of oil right now. It's back down to about $93 a barrel. There's actually a glut of oil, so it's just going to take some time for all of this to catch up. We may have to put some Marines on the shore there in the Carg Island and the Strait, but the perception that Iran can do much to stop us, it's completely empty.
Yeah, and we'll see, because we know the president also said that he's not going to use boots on the ground, but doesn't want to rule it out.
We'll see.
And there are reports of Marines heading into the region, maybe to secure the Strait, also Carg Island. Going to have to keep an eye on what happens there the next coming days. Colonel Shaffer, Victoria Coates, got to run. Appreciate you both coming on.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Coming up, the Department of Homeland Security shutdown continues because Democrats, they don't want illegal aliens deported. Agency employees are missing paychecks, so illegals can stay. I am just calling it for what it is. That's what this is about. Senator Roger Marshall, he joins us next to talk about it. Senator, see you in a minute.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Guys, it's time to get what you want. With help from Ageless Male Max, a doctor-recommended solution for boosting testosterone right at its source. Be the man you want to be.
Your tax refund is in, and at Blue Compass RV, it's going places. Shop 100-plus locations, over 15,000 new and used RVs. Lock in lower rates with new RVs from $98 a month. Shop tax refund specials at Blue Compass RV.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
All right, welcome back in. It is now day 34 of the partial government shutdown. Democrats refusing to fund DHS and its agencies, making us suffer over their crusade to keep criminal illegal aliens in the country, because we know that this whole thing is all about that. Democrats sacrificing the quality of life for Americans like this. Massive lines at airports across the country. TSA workers also feeling the pain. They're not getting paid. Some are calling out sick. More than 300 have quit since the shutdown began. They don't want to deal with it. Don't blame them. Democrats know the chaos they have caused, and they do not seem to care. Generally, they don't. Democrat Congressman Don Beyer tells Axios this: we're making people hurt. The long lines, that can't make us more popular. I don't think it does. Punchbowl News reporting that bipartisan proposals, some being introduced to end the shutdown, kind of look like this, where you're going to have full funding at previously agreed upon levels, plus ICE reforms, including on body cameras, training, entering sensitive locations, on officer identification, and independent investigations. It will also prevent ICE agents from wearing masks, but crack down on doxing and require judicial warrants for criminal arrests. Hakeem Jeffries, he's also not backing down with the Democrats from this fight. According to him, he had this to say on the matter. Here he was.
All Speaker Johnson needs to do is bring the legislation to the floor that will pay TSA agents and reopen the parts of the Department of Homeland Security that have nothing to do with ICE and have nothing to do with Trump's extreme and violent mass deportation machine.
Okay, so he should just come out and say we want criminal illegal aliens to stay, else we're not going to reopen DHS. I mean, at least be honest, right? Level with us, Hakeem. At least be honest. Senator Roger Marshall, he joins us now. Senator, pleasure to have you on tonight. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. It's easy for Hakeem to sit over on the other side of the Capitol and lob things at the Senate. Look, he voted against funding for TSA. I think you made a great point here. This is day 34. I mean, the weeks passed by really, really quickly. And today is the first day that the Democrat senators were willing to sit down face to face and have a conversation. They are the party of the defund the police. They want open borders. They don't believe in law and order as well. So today, after 34 days, the Democrats are finally ready to talk.
Senator, let me ask you this. Are Republicans willing to cave at all to some of the demands that Democrats are requesting at ICE? Because I truly believe they want to cripple ICE so you can't make deportations here. I think it would look like to the public eye that you would be caving to them if that happened.
Yeah, no, Rob, there's no backing off here. We're going to stick with the Trump policies. We're really down, I think, to two key issues right now. The Democrats want to unmask the ICE agents, and then this issue over the warrants. On the unmasking part, that's a non-starter. I've talked to many ICE agents whose families' lives are in jeopardy because of who they work for, what their job is as well, because they dox these ICE agents. And then on the warrant side of this, I'm afraid the Democrats don't understand. By the time an ICE agent is picking somebody up, they've been through this process already, a judicial process. So we need to stick with that administrative warrant so indeed we can deport the illegal aliens as well. But those are the last two issues I think outstanding right now.
Senator, what would your message be to all the TSA workers, DHS workers who aren't getting paid right now?
Oh my gosh, I don't think I have anything that I could really say that would be, appropriate. I'm sorry. I appreciate your service to the country. Thank you for helping keep us safe right now. I hope we can make it up to you soon. It's easy for me to sit here and blame the Democrats, but we have voted time after time to fund TSA, but the Democrats are not willing to do this. They're willing to choose politics over the safety of this country, and I'm sorry, I'm not willing to do that. I wake up every day thinking about the safety of our families, and I appreciate them hanging in there with us.
Well, they're being used as pawns so Democrats can try and thwart ICE. That is what's happening here. Senator, also want to switch gears, talk about the Save America Act. We got a minute. Talk about the latest. We know that in your state, you tried to have some form of this, a state SAVE Act, so to speak, a little while ago, that it went through the courts and it didn't work out. So what's the latest in the Senate on this?
Well, we're going to find out tonight where the Democrat senators are on ID for voting for the elections themselves. So we're going to offer a unanimous consent. Senator John Husted from Ohio is going to offer that in a little bit, and we'll see if the Democrats will object to that. They're kind of hanging their hat on a couple other components of this bill. They're hanging on the proving your citizenship and then some of the issues around mail-in ballots. But I don't think they even support voter ID. So we're about to find that out tonight as well, and really the fight's just getting started.
Good. Put them on record so we know, so their constituents know there.
That's it.
Senator Roger Marshall, sir, always a pleasure. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, coming up, talking about more shocking information on California's fraud uncovered How about close to 90 hospice businesses operating out of the same building? How's that even possible? Also, adult children of the Iran regime teach at a bunch of universities here in the United States. That seems weird. Details next.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BC, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
Text Newsmax to 50505 to get your free information and up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's right. Text Newsmax to 50505.
All right. No way you can miss it.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your 1776 discount. Chalk's all-American customer service team is standing by.
Marlene trusts Prevagen for her brain, and this is her story.
Hi, I'm Marlene. Taking care of myself, it's also taking care of the family as well. I've been taking Prevagen for around 5 years now. It helps me maintain who I am and gives me more confidence. I'm taking Prevagen and telling my family and telling everyone around me, I know what it's going to do for them. Prevagen works for me, and I see the results.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
With less pain and swelling from active psoriatic arthritis. Imagine being a million miles away. With Tremfya, less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. Some patients even felt less fatigued. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
All right, we got some fine dining happening at the White House tonight. President Trump, the Japanese Prime Minister, the President, obviously speaking right now. Get a listen.
Anniversary, and they will remind every future generation of our timeless bond, and they'll be planted near and around the Washington Monument, and it's going to be something very special. They've already started the planting, but it's 250 beautiful specimen trees, and we'll get you over here. We'll check them out after they're planted. We'll get you back.
でまた今年はアメリカ建国250周年記念ということで日本からさらに250本の桜の木を寄付していただいています。これは未来の世代にも永遠の私たちの絆を思い起こさせるものになることでしょう。これからワシントンモニュメントまたこの近隣で植樹をする予定ですけども、それが実際に植樹された後に確認をしてまいります。
Americans and Japanese come from opposite sides of the globe, But since the earliest days of commerce between our two countries, we've always recognized.
We're going to get back to
despite
scheduled
obvious
programming
differences, we share
here.
a great
We'll monitor the state dinner with the president, Japanese prime minister. If anything big comes out of that, we'll circle back in. All right, moving on to this. In recent months, we've seen the immense amount of hospice fraud being uncovered in the state of California. CBS News, they recently visited what they call ground zero for fraud in the most extreme case of clustering, a large group of hospice offices, which state auditors consider to be a major red flag when you group them together. And here it is, the big spot, the Marabi Professional Medica Plaza in Van Nuys neighborhood in L.A. It is a three-building, home to a salon, three-story building, law office, modeling agency, realty corporation, and the big one here, 89 licensed hospice companies, 72 of which have had at least 3 violations auditors say are warning signs for fraud. Now, despite these extreme cases, we can't just fixate on California because fraud against the government happening everywhere, like Minnesota, as we know. And our immigration policies, they have played a huge role in that. So, I want to talk about this. A Haitian-born man living in Florida, he has been stripped of his U.S. citizenship after a judge found he defrauded COVID-19 relief programs out of millions, and he also lied during his naturalization process. So he submitted 40 fraudulent loan applications to obtain COVID relief funds for others in exchange for kickbacks. He secured about $3.8 million in loan proceeds, pocketing over $500,000 himself. A naturalized U.S. citizen from Nigeria got his citizenship revoked after stealing millions from multiple states, committing 19 counts of mail and wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and conspiracy to commit mail fraud in 2017. He was also linked to fraudulent tax returns worth over $91 million. This is big time. And after being sentenced to 15 years in prison in order to pay $12 million in restitution, he was commuted in 2024 by Joe Biden. How about that? Mercedes Schlapp, CPAC Senior Fellow, and Simon Hankinson, Senior Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, join us now. Good to see you both. Man, Mercedes, I'll tell you what, millions and millions of dollars just in 2 little examples I presented there. Right. President Trump says maybe this fraud now being prosecuted by J.D. Vance himself could maybe balance the budget. Can you talk about this?
Well, I mean, it started with Minnesota, as we saw with the fraud in the Somali communities, where, obviously you saw that Tim Walz, the governor, did nothing despite the fact that the whistleblowers came to him in the first place and said, we've got a problem here when you're talking about the fact that whether it was these learning centers that weren't really learning centers, these daycare, the daycare funding, and you're talking about billions of dollars that we have no idea where this money ended up, and it could have easily ended up in Somalia. We're seeing the same thing in California with this hospice care where, as Nick Shirley reported, he would go into this parking lot, and there you had luxury cars everywhere.
Oh, their cars were sweet.
Of where all this money is going to. So I am so glad, we started with Doge and taking out the USAID. Now it's moving to the fraud in using taxpayer dollars, billions of it, misusing it, and really figuring out who these criminals are.
Simon, I think most Americans are wondering, including myself, how it got this far. I know there have been red flags, but not shut down. Why? How does 89 hospice businesses show up in one building? That seems insane to me. I don't know.
Look, I'm not surprised because I've lived all over the world, lived in Africa for 8 years. I lived in India. I lived in countries where corruption is a way of life. And you can't expect people to come from places where corruption is a daily occurrence just to kind of get your driver's license or get your kid into school or run a business. And then all of a sudden, 100% of them give it up. I think this is a fully predictable phenomenon. And our problem is we're like taking the Beverly Hills Police Department and putting them in Chicago and saying, okay, guys, take care of business. We just don't have the sort of imagination to comprehend the level of fraud that we're talking about. You were talking about red flags. I mean, that's not red flags. That's just like downright evidence of fraud. You've got 79 hospices, which is a sad place where people are, gently helped in the final moments of their lives. There's absolutely no way those businesses could be running in a strip mall like that. So these places should have been shut down years ago, there should have been a lot of resources put into shutting it down, no matter who's doing it, whether it's Somali, Armenian, Russian, American, English, who cares?
Yeah.
But they're just simply ignoring it and hoping it'll go away.
I feel like it was their plan, the Democrats here, the redistribution of Americans' wealth, and I truly believe that's at the crux of this. All right, Mercedes, want to also get to this because it's kind of insane just as well. Being reported that children of Iran's regime, their leaders, are educating our American students at universities across the country. I want to jog through some of it right now. We have the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council. He was widely seen as the Islamic Republic's second-in-command, Ali Larijani. He was killed in the airstrike earlier this week. He's got a daughter who's a doctor, taught at Emory University in Atlanta up until last month, where they finally kicked her out. All right, let's move on to the next person here. We got the daughter of the ex-Iranian president, Mohammad Khatami, a math professor at Union College. That's in upstate New York. The former parliament member in Iran who worked as a spokesperson for student militants. He's got a son who's an associate professor at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology and NLA. What's going on with this, Mercedes? Why are they here?
There's actually one of them as well, the son of one of the major clerics in Iran, who's literally a professor teaching nuclear energy education,
nice.
Basically. So that one, I mean, seriously. So you're talking about the fact that he's involved in this nuclear program studies, and it just, look, as a mother of 5 daughters, 3 one graduated from college, 2 in college right now, so many American students have been denied in going to these premier universities. They always favor, these foreign students, and to have these individuals who are related to basically one of our greatest enemies should simply not be allowed. They should not have the honor of coming to fine American institutions here in the United States. It should be prohibited. They should be deported. Case closed.
Hey, are you still in those nuclear weapons plans? Oh, no, not me. The nuclear energy guy from Iran, and the president says my father. Unreal. Mercedes, Simon, got to leave it there. All right, coming up, the anti-Trump Wall Street Journal comes out against the SAVE Act, unsurprisingly claiming it won't actually save America. We're going to get reaction from Ed Henry, Rick Leventhal, coming up.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
A dedicated mentor, an empowered parent, an effective after-school program, digital literacy tools that protect kids online. These are just some of the solutions to the Youth Mental Health Challenge. At the Coalition to Empower Our Future, we're bringing together experts in youth well-being to solve this complex challenge. Our mission? Keep kids happy and healthy. Learn more at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 5-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Make your tax refund go places at Blue Compass RV. Lock in lower rates now. New RVs from $98 a month. Every RV includes a VIP membership to RV Complete. Over $5,000 in value. Shop tax refund specials at Blue Compass RV.
When my mother heard about Pure Talk's latest offer, she said, "Michael, that's a third of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible?" I said, "Ma, your current provider spent $12 billion last year on advertising and promotion. Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk, everything you need, nothing you don't."
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Oh, the left-wing media, aren't they the worst? Welcome back in. The Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal has come out against President Trump yet again, trashing the Save America Act. Their editorial board publishing this headline, "Why the Save America Act Won't." Writing a Pyrrhic victory on voting isn't worth busting the Senate filibuster. Adding, President Trump says the legislation is a salvation from mass voter fraud. Senator Chuck Schumer, he says it's an effort at mass voter suppression. Jim Crow 2.0. Neither is reality. Many people would argue that securing voter ID and preventing illegal aliens from voting in our country is worth busting the Senate filibuster. And when it comes to the Wall Street Journal's coverage with the war in Iran, more of the same. Now, President Trump, he writes this, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal in particular, and one other low-life papers and the media, they actually want us to lose the war. Their terrible reporting is the exact opposite of the actual facts. They are truly sick and demented people that have no idea the damage that they cause the United States of America. All right, here to weigh in on this, Ed Henry. He's the host of The Big Take at 5 p.m. Eastern Time here on Newsmax. Rick Leventhal, the host of the Leventhal Report on N2. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you both on. All right, Ed, I'm going to start with you. Your thoughts on the president's comments here. Also want to add this in and remind the audience again of this. The Wall Street Journal editorial board writing the Save America Act won't. Your thoughts?
I think it would save America because, you know, the left has lied to us repeatedly on a whole bunch of issues, open borders. They lied about illegals getting health care in places like California. Oh, no, that never happens when we know billions of dollars are being oh, there's no fraud in Minnesota. You could go on. But they also told us that basically no illegals vote in American elections, so the SAVE Act is not needed. And then Chuck Schumer let slip on the Senate floor yesterday, well, basically, there's not that many illegals who vote. They know there are illegals who vote. The real number, nobody knows for sure. And, you know, when you need a photo ID to go to Costco, for example, to buy toothpaste, you should at least have a photo ID to vote in this country and make sure we're following the Constitution, making sure that American citizens are voting. So, yeah, the American media doesn't want to help. The president's called them the enemy of the people. I mean, think about what's going on with the war in Iran as well, real quick. I mean, if you look at the media in the Gulf states, the Arab states are basically cheering the president in America on and saying, finish the job. This will be great for the region, great for the world if Iran and their nukes are obliterated. The American media is doing the opposite. They're almost cheering for failure.
Yeah, isn't that so true? The people who actually live and have to deal with Iran on a daily basis, they want that terrorist regime gone. Yet our media and so many here in this country, oh, no, they're good. They're a good regime, besides the fact that they hang people who protest against them in the street. Rick, want to get your take on this and what the media, I guess, what they're so worried about with the Save America Act. Geez, yeah, I don't think it's so bad to have an ID to vote.
There's a lot of fake outrage out there and a lot of now rewriting history and acting like certain groups like women and blacks and poor people can't get IDs and can't prove who they are. Remember back during COVID when everyone had to get a vaccine and you needed a vaccine card, and then if you went out to eat, You had to show your ID to prove you were the person on that card.
Yeah.
I didn't hear Democrats up in arms over that. Oh, well, this is going to prevent women from going out to eat. This is going to prevent blacks from going to have dinner somewhere. The whole thing is so stupid and ridiculous. Every other nation on this earth that is first world requires ID to vote. It's not a stretch. What this is agenda reporting. That's what we're watching now. It's not accurate. It's just pushing an agenda anti-Trump on America, and it does extend to war coverage as well.
It's if President Trump cured cancer himself, they'd find a way to complain about it. I know we all make that analogy, but that is the truth here. And I also want to point this out. Brendan Carr, he's putting fake news broadcasts kind of on notice. He's threatening to revoke their broadcast licenses if they keep up their partisan antics. We've talked about this. Carr writing and warning. Certainly, it applies to Jimmy Kimmel. There he is in his Democrat propaganda late night show on ABC. The Media Research Center watched late night programming on ABC, NBC. They say also Comedy Central's Daily Show. They found 93% of the jokes were about the United States and our allies since the start of the war. Just kind of seems like they don't want success for our country, whom we are at war with a country who chants death to America.
Right. And look, obviously, Jimmy Kimmel's not a news outlet, but it's where millions of people still watch, or he's probably shrinking down a little lower than that. But you still get all of those comedy shows together, less ratings than before, but a lot of people still looking at it, and the vast majority of what they see is just anti-Trump, anti-American. That's outrageous. That's why Brendan Carr is smart to step in here. And I'd also make the point that if you look at Apple News, for example, Apple News recently got chastised because they were showing no conservative news outlets, no stories from Newsmax, for example, in that feed people get on their iPhone every day. So they got chastised. What did they do? We've now looked at it. The Media Research Center has analyzed it. They changed it the past month to 2% of their stories were from conservative outlets. It's like they're just laughing in our faces. They don't want, the country to hear anything but radical left-wing news. Apple and the other big tech companies, ABC, CBS, NBC, the big media companies. It's outrageous.
They want to control people. Yep, they want to control as much as they can. Rick, final thoughts to you.
Well, just that accuracy matters. Being fair matters. If you're just going to report anything anti-administration, you're not being fair to your viewers. And people do listen. They do pay attention to broadcast news. They do pay attention to what they're seeing on the web and on newspaper websites. And they should be accurate. They should just present the facts. They need to stop with this anti-Trump agenda, because it is twisting people's minds, and it's not being responsible. And they do have a right to share opinions in some cases, but they also they have a responsibility to be accurate and fair, and they're not. And it's beyond belief.
Who knows, they might make more money, too,
about it.
If they broaden out things. That's what this is all it is, business. But they don't seem to mind. All right, Rick, Ed, got to leave it there. Good to see you both.
Good to see you. Thanks.
All right, coming up, a Palestinian Marxist is outraged after losing her primary. There she is, a Palestinian Marxist. All right, that is next on News from the Left.
I'm sorry that this sucks, but Trump, ICE, free Palestine.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Little by little, age-related macular degeneration tries to take away your vision. You're not the type to sit back and do nothing, so now's the time to take action and make a plan with your doctor that includes PreserVision. It contains the clinically proven formula recommended by the NEI to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression. PreserVision is backed by over 20 years of clinical studies, and it's right here in the palm of your hand.
You spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Don't let AMD take that away.
It's your vision. Take action. Choose PreserVision.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Our family started Cane Brew with a dream and a lot of hard work. Now we're thriving, growing, and hiring. Artificial intelligence has made all the difference for our business. We're a case study for how AI is strengthening American manufacturing. Washington needs to help AI flourish. It's vital to our economic security. We cannot let China dominate these technologies. America must innovate and win. Let's protect our competitive edge.
I'm Arthur Lee, inventor and CEO of LifeVac, but most importantly, I'm a dad first.
Over 10 years ago, I watched my dad design and build the first LifeVac in our garage. Now, that device has saved thousands of lives.
The LifeVac saved my life in 1-2 seconds.
It's a device that saved my son's life.
A choking accident can happen anywhere. Order your LifeVac now.
Don't wait another minute. A life might depend on it. Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
All right, welcome back in. I'm Bob Brooks, filling in for Rob this evening. Time now for news from the left. So let's talk about someone who has a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome badly. Meet Palestinian Marxist Kat Abu Ghazala, one of 15 Democrats who was jockeying for Congress in Illinois' 9th District. She lost her primary. Now, Abu Ghazala formerly worked for Media Matters. That is a left-wing organization trying to end conservative media. Kat is more infamously known for this stunt right here, where she was then taken down by ICE. That happened in Chicago. You can also see in the video, again in slow motion, we're going to pull it up here. There we go. Kat making a scene there. She's got her mask on, and bam, to the ground. I always say, don't do that to federal law enforcement, or you might get hurt. Anyways, here was her concession speech. She was outraged over Trump in ICE. Let's listen.
You heard, but we didn't win, and it really sucks. When I said I would spend every single waking moment of the rest of my life to hold this administration accountable, win or lose, I meant it. I'm sorry that this sucks, but Trump, ICE, free Palestine, and I love you all.
She's going to spend the rest of her life avenging against the Trump administration. She's kind of young. That's going to be a long time. Like I said, I think she's got problems upstairs. Anyways, Chris Kohls, he's the host of Mr. Reagan podcast. Chrissy Clark, Newsmax contributor. They both join us now. Good to see you both. Chrissy, your thoughts on the loser there, the Marxist loser in Chicago's 9th District. A lot of young people like that. That's what really scares me.
Yeah, well, a lot of smart people now apparently don't. Congrats to the people of Illinois who, I will say, shockingly decided that extreme leftists like this aren't even palatable for blue states. But I think that Kat was somewhat indicative of this TikTok campaign that's been going on. And this should be a wake up for a lot of candidates heading into the midterms this year, that online virality does not equate to real life votes. Social media is super important. I get that. But good campaigns know that you need a ground game, not just a TikTok game.
Chris, are we starting to see the tide shift? We had Zohran Mamdani in New York. Hasn't been very good so far, to say the very least, that this Marxist kind of trend that we saw in the last go-around could be fading, and this is indicative of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, this woman, I think even more so, just individually, seemed incredibly artificial. I went back and I looked through some of her old videos. It reminded me of Kamala Harris how manufactured her campaign seemed, and just super narcissistic, self-absorbed. She said something like, nobody has ever done anything like our campaign. We changed the national conversation. No, you didn't. She said, we set a new standard for what people should expect from their political candidates. No, you didn't. You lost in a primary. Like, just take the L, be humble, and move forward. But she can't do that. She's artificial. She's scripted. This was a terrible campaign and a terrible candidate.
Yeah, I see a lot of young people acting like that. No, you didn't really change anything at all. You're not that important. All right, want to get to this. I think the best soundbite of the day. Been talking about it with the crew here. President Trump arguably can make the case funniest president we've ever had. So here he was, owning a reporter and defending his decision not to give Japan advanced warning of his attack on Iran. He makes a good comparison.
And we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? He's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us.
Hey, that's funny, Chrissy, right? Come on.
Yeah, that was President Trump's audition to get rid of all of these stupid shows like SNL and Jimmy Kimmel and replace it with just Trump talking about funny, mindless stuff. That's my personal campaign right now.
Chris, your thoughts on that, Trump being funny? Also, he does make a good point. Why would he say? We got 10 seconds.
Yeah, if he hadn't become president, he could have become a stand-up comedian. This guy's always got great stuff out of the gate, just off the top of his head. Maybe the wrong crowd for that joke, but I personally absolutely loved it.
I think it was the right crowd. We were the victims in that. I think it was the perfect crowd to make that joke. Why wouldn't you tell us about Pearl Harbor? Well, because you were attacking us here. All right. Chris Kohls, Chrissy, got to leave it there. Good to see you both. All right, after the break, frustrated travelers going to tell us what their message is for Chuck Schumer, because they can't get through the airports coming up.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief for pain, stiffness, and inflammation of the knees.
The pain in your knees is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief Gel. It has worked wonders. I love it.
Available at your local retailer.
Pump up the volume.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Signal Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Signal Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
I've had the highest mountains, I've had the deepest river. I'll take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world, I've been waiting to smile, holding it in for a while.
For the champions you love, trust Cosequin, the #1 vet-recommended retail joint health supplement brand. Cosequin.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's All-American customer service team is standing by.
All right, finally tonight, we're over a month into the Democrat-induced DHS shutdown, and the TSA agents that are still showing up to work at airports, they have not been paid since Valentine's Day. Think about that. Many are calling out of work, can't blame them, or quitting and finding a new job because they need to make money for their families, resulting in long, chaotic lines at the airports all across the country. And as President Trump puts it, because the crazed Democrats are not allowing TSA agents to get paid. That's what it is. Earlier today, our producer, Brent, he went to LaGuardia Airport in New York to ask frustrated travelers if they have a message for Chuck Schumer, who is fine with letting American travelers suffer in those long lines in order to protect criminal illegal aliens from being deported.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are torturing Americans with long lines at the airport. And why? All to protect criminal illegal aliens from being deported.
The line was long as hell.
Did you have a long line?
Yes.
We have video from Atlanta. It was insane this morning. You were there today?
Yeah, I was.
How long did you wait?
I actually left because I missed my flight because it was so long.
That's all because of this guy right here. Chuck Schumer, who refuses to fund DHS. It's this guy's fault right here, Chuck Schumer.
Yes. Definitely.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats refuse to fund DHS.
That's not Chuck Schumer, is it?
That's Chuck Schumer right there.
I thought he had more hair than that.
There's so many lines all over the place, all because Chuck Schumer wants to protect criminal illegal aliens from being deported.
That's untrue. You know that, right?
But he's not funding DHS.
That's okay.
Thank God they're not letting the SAVE Act pass. Holy I think they should hold that line harder, man.
They don't want criminal illegal aliens deported from the country.
Right, correct. Definitely. And it affects everybody, and it's not fair.
It's all because the Democrats refuse to deport criminal illegal aliens.
Really?
People who are being deported actually aren't criminals.
Can you name one person that you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, there are tons of them. I mean, yes, people in my community. Well, no, I can't give you one name because it's just like, it's like your neighbors next door.
What's your message to Chuck Schumer if he's watching?
Never did the right thing, not doing his job, replace him.
Please retire, Chuck Schumer. Let anybody else do your job. That'd be awesome.
Well, thank you, Brent. Some fine reporting there. Love the fact that you hammered Chuck Schumer on that. And I kind of did notice the fact that the ones who agreed with Democrats on that one, just white women. That's what it was. All right, calling it like I see it. Finnerty is next. Have a great night.